Tonight, 2 sleeps and counting. We chat to the member for Grey ahead of Saturday's federal election. And from Quorn to Wallaroo, the tiny Spencer Gulf towns recognised on the big stage.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Well, there's only a few more sleeps until the federal election, where the future for the seat of Grey will be decided. The current Liberal member made his way to Port Lincoln today, discussing the big issues within the electorate.
The seat of Grey currently in the balance. People from across the region took to the polls early today, casting their votes before D-Day on Saturday. Liberal MP Rowan Ramsey visiting Port Lincoln on Thursday, delivering his final thoughts on the campaign.
I'm sensing often the polling's not dead right, it wasn't right last time, and that there is a groundswell of support for what has been competent management through one of the toughest times Australia's faced, certainly since World War II.
Infrastructure and road development a priority for Ramsey's government.
And now we've had over $1 billion committed from the federal government for roads around Grey, and the biggest complaint I get about roads now is all the go slow signs, because we're doing work under progress.
Despite a divided opinion on the location of a nuclear waste facility in Kimber, Mr Ramsey showing his support for its placement.
Well, last election, everybody knew my stance on that rad waste facility at Kimber. My stance hasn't changed. My vote was strong last election, particularly around my home community.
The Desalination Site Selection Committee working hard to find a preferred location before July. Mr Ramsey also giving his thoughts.
The group for Hands Off Boston Bay sought my opinion, and I've given it quite clearly. There's no way in the world that a desal plant can be built in Boston Bay. It fails one of the key criteria of SO Water.
The member for Grey firmly backing the Prime Minister at this weekend's federal election, despite some of his on-field mishaps.
I only saw the photo, but he actually got his hand round the bottom of the kid, and he, in Aussie rules, would be in the back. But even for a rugby player, he managed to look after the bloke underneath him.
Residents right across the Spencer Gulf will head to the polls this Saturday on May 21st. Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Not-for-profit organisation Mental Illness Fellowship of Australia is warning that people with mental illness in the Far West and outback New South Wales are not getting the support they need. To combat this, the fellowship is calling for people in Broken Hill and surrounds to reach out for any help they may need.
50% of Far West locals living with major mental health issues are not getting the support they need. That's according to new data from the Mental Illness Fellowship of Australia. The fellowship also finding the reason why that is. It is due to a lack of services in the community. Not to mention the stigma still present in society. For some, it can still feel taboo to talk about severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder.
But when it comes to severe mental illness like schizophrenia, for example, there is still incredible stigma, and that is also preventing people from reaching out and getting the help they need.
Out of all the states and territories in Australia, New South Wales has the highest estimate of people that experience schizophrenia and develops in 1 out of every 100 people, while an estimated 250,000 suffer from severe mental illness, which in turn affects around 1 million families. For those loved ones it does affect, it can be a troublesome time.
It is a distressing time for many families, and look, it does take a while sometimes to get the right advice and get onto the right pathway for the support that people need.
Last week, the member for Parkes, Mark Coulton, was in Broken Hill to announce funding of $14 million for a Head to Health facility. But at this stage, a location for the new facility has yet to be determined. Mr Stevenson says that while the funding for a new mental health care centre is a great initiative and a step in the right direction, the fact remains that more support staff is needed.
You know, for people who are going to need ongoing support in the community on a long-term basis, we still need to get additional support workers on the ground.
The fellowship is a platform that people who suffer with severe mental health issues can use for support. Simply go to findingnorthnetwork.com.au. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Some of the Spencer Gulf's smallest towns have been recognised on a statewide stage. The winners of South Australia's top tourism towns have been announced, with Quorn in Flinders Ranges taking out Best Tiny Tourism Town, an award for locations with a population of below 1,500 people, while Wallaroo, which has a population of less than 5,000 people, took out Best Small Tourism Town, as well as the People's Choice. The winners of each category will go on to represent South Australia at the National Awards later this year. Still to come tonight, the first of several pods arrive at Whyalla's foreshore. Coming up, we'll tell you what they're being used for. And the conference bringing business to the forefront in Port Lincoln. Welcome back to 7 Spencer Gulf News. Whyalla residents have noticed some new additions have arrived at the city's foreshore. Multiple pod structures have been craned into place to serve as a pop-up cafe and a visitor information centre.
Setting up shop at the foreshore. The Whyalla City Council is constructing various structures by the beach to bolster tourist numbers. Over the past 2 days, pod-like buildings have made the long journey from Adelaide before being carefully craned onto their footings at the Whyalla foreshore.
It's former event stock from Adelaide, used for things like Tasting Australia and the Adelaide 500. That cafe is there to help us transition to a new redevelopment of the Surf Lifesaving Club.
The structures are the first step in the council's development master plan, where they hope to create a larger beachside precinct.
And we've really dressed them up, but they were a basic construct and they're really fast. This went up in 24 hours.
One of the pods is being transformed into a space for a brand new cafe operator. The exciting venture, allowing community members to still treat themselves to some sea view dining, while the existing surf lifesaving and cafe space is redeveloped.
Yeah, look, it can be 2 to 3 years. It all depends on the consultation process we have for the Surf Lifesaving Club redevelopment. But the beauty of them is that you can pick them up and relocate them.
The second pod is being used as an add-on to the existing tourist centre, where people can stop in for a chat whilst on a beachside stroll. The council says they are looking to activate the new pod as soon as possible to capitalise on people visiting the new circular jetty.
We're hoping to have some of our staff members come down here, but we're also looking for people that belong to this community to spend some time in this visitor centre, sharing their knowledge and experience and their love of Whyalla.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A collaborative event took place in the Port Lincoln Hotel last night, where business and tourism experts took to the stage. A night of networking looked to connect local businesses and boost tourism goals within the region.
An important function looking at ways of growing businesses within the region. Guest speakers flew in from across the state, delivering strategies in ways local business owners can grow.
So we wanted to pull together a networking event that really looked at how we grow sustainability as far as business goes in the region and how we grow our region. And so obviously tourism was a key focus tonight.
Tourism development at the forefront of the event with the creation of the Eyes on Air project, a collaborative effort in developing infrastructure for the region.
So Eyes on Air essentially was collaborated as a mechanism to facilitate infrastructure development. So it involves Landscapes SA, Regional Development Australia, Eyre Peninsula, PIRSA.
The development of skills within the workforce also a concern. Digital strategist Shani saying there's a shortage of skills across the Eyre Peninsula.
But also that skills shortage is still a bit of a problem. It's certainly, I hear from different areas that it's certainly an area that is being worked on, and leaders in certain industries are looking at ways that they can help support that further.
Despite the challenges of the pandemic, the tourism industry continues to thrive, breaking all predicted targets.
Regional tourism, as we know, has been doing really well during the pandemic, up and down obviously, but overall it's been doing quite well. The target we had for 2025 was 400 million, and we've surpassed that now by, I think, 90 million.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Port Pirie's Lighthouse Uniting Church hosts its first ever Biggest Morning Tea. And fun for the whole family. Whyalla locals flock to Norton Park as part of Families Week. Welcome back to 7 Spencer Gulf News. The committee at Lighthouse Uniting Church in Port Pirie stopped to smell the coffee and the cake this morning as the church hosted its first biggest morning tea. With over 90 people attending the fundraiser, it's fair to say it was a great success.
Having a cuppa for a good cause. There was nothing short of hustle and bustle in Port Pirie this morning, as the Lighthouse Uniting Church community, as well as members of the public, came together to clink cups for the biggest morning tea. Those in attendance generously donating money to a worthy cause close to their hearts.
The cancer has affected my family. I have 5 sisters and a mother, all with breast cancer.
The event is very special because we're raising funds for cancer, and that affects so many people in their lives, individuals, family members, and it's just a special time to be able to do something for them.
The days leading up to the event, organisers had been busy baking and decorating the venue, and say they were happy with the great turnout of over 90 people. No small feat, considering it was the first time the church hosted a biggest morning tea event. As the last of the cakes were eaten, it was time to reflect, as guests dug deep to help support cancer research.
And if we can help in any way, it's to give back what we have, the help that we've had after we've had our operations.
Raising over $1,000, it's fair to say it was a great success. Staggeringly, 1 in 2 Australians are diagnosed with cancer before the age of 83. So United Church knows that every dollar counts. If you would like to donate, visit the Cancer Council's website. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Whyalla children and their parents were treated to a joy-filled day yesterday to celebrate National Families Week. Organisers say the afternoon of activities was a major success, with many of the families hanging around until late, so they didn't miss a minute of the fun.
A party in the park, Centacare Whyalla hosting the community for a fun-filled day for families.
It's been amazing. We've had so many families and schools come across. There's just been kids and families enjoying themselves all afternoon.
Held at Norton Park, the event kicked off at 2 p.m. with a range of different craft activities and games to keep the kids entertained all afternoon.
So today we were celebrating Families Week, and we've had badge making, we've had a sausage sizzle going, popcorn machine, there's been some family placemats that people can make to connect all their family dots together.
Children of all different ages taking the opportunity to catch up with friends.
Meeting people from last year's school, like saying hello to kids from last year that I haven't been able to see.
Hanging out with my friends.
I've just been running around the track.
Artistic juices were flowing, with badge making a highlight of the day for many.
You can all put stickers on it, and then they put it in like a machine, then makes it into a badge you can stick on your shirt.
Organisers say more families attended this year than ever before, with many setting up picnic blankets and chairs to enjoy the sunshine all day long.
Kirsty's done an amazing job advertising and getting, I would say there'd be close to 100 families that have came out.
The day concluding with a nighttime screening of a film created by Centacare staff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the movie's going to be good.
We've made a short documentary about local people and what it means to them to have a family and what family means to them.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. It's Fish Tip Thursday. Our experts reveal their top spots to wet a line this weekend. And we'll have the weather details, including the forecast for Election Day, with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. The Broken Hill Repertory Society will be holding its first musical of the year this Sunday. The show is a fairy tale spectacular and will feature songs from popular movies such as Peter Pan, Beauty and the Beast and Encanto.
For a fun afternoon of singing, Theatre 44 is the place to be this Sunday, with performers from the Broken Hill Repertory Society taking to the stage after wrapping up their final rehearsal.
This is the final rehearsal, yes. And, you know, when you have a bad rehearsal, you're always going to have a good concert. This was a bit of a schmozzle, but...
Originally, it was meant to go ahead 6 weeks ago, but a combination of factors meant it had to be pushed back. But as they say, better late than never.
Well, it's been so hard to get this concert on the stage. We were supposed to have it, at least 6 weeks ago. And so many people were suffering from COVID and kids were away and...
Now they are finally getting ready to break a leg. The performers can't wait to get out there.
Some of them are really over the moon, you know. They're running around like anything. They run around the stage before rehearsals and they get very excited.
The Society will be performing songs from some well-known classics such as Peter Pan and Mulan, as well as songs from new musicals like Encanto. But here is what you can expect on Sunday.
Some beautiful singing. And some lovely costumes, and just generally to enjoy watching the kids perform.
To avoid any spoilers, it's best to watch Encanto before showtime. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
If you're in need of some plans after casting your vote on Saturday, why not grab a rod and head to the nearest jetty? It is, of course, time for this week's Fish and Tips. Let's kick things off with Aaron Morgan in Port Augusta.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fish and Tips from Port Augusta at Jewel North. Well, some good, nice, calm weather. The water's fairly clear. Good catches of squid, as you'd expect this time of year. As always, last half hour of light just drift on the shack sea and you'll generally get more than you get all day. Whiting can be caught at the moment. They're not really taking the baits too well, but people have been reaching their bag limits on that as well, and also picking up the odd grass whiting, flounder and flathead while they're trying as well. Salmon can be found up and around the creeks, and on these really calm nights, try and get out there and go dabbing for garfish. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. We'll start in the bay here in Lincoln, and there's been some salmon activity over the past week. There's been some salmon up to about 1 kilo caught around by the BHP wharf and also up around North Shields. There's been some good whiting reports from the bay as well over the past week, with some good fish coming from Proper Bay and also up along the North Shore, especially late in the day. There has been some whiting reports down the passage as well, with fish from Taylor's down to Thistle, and there's also been some nice queen snapper and some nannygai down in the deeper drops down that way too. Moving over to Coffin Bay, in the shallower areas there are some nice garfish and tommies as well. Well, that's all for tips this week. We'll see you again next week.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, how's the weekend looking?
Good evening to you, Maddie, and I have some good news for you. It's mainly fine conditions across the weekend, which is very similar to how it was today, with partly cloudy conditions right across the board, except for in Cooper Pedy where there were showers. At 3 p.m, Whyalla was partly cloudy and 18, Woodna was 20 degrees and Clare was a max of 14. Looking further out across the region now, Port Augusta was 19. Over the border, Broken Hill got to a max of 13. Port Lincoln, Kadina and Cleve were a max of 18 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, clouds sweeping in the northwest is bringing areas of rain and the odd isolated storm. Clouds in the far southeast is not bringing any rain. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Easterly winds 10 to 20 knots, seas around 1 metre and south to southwesterly swell 1 to 2.5 metres. Partly cloudy conditions across the region tomorrow. Port Lincoln is set to reach a high of 18 degrees, Clare 17 and Woodna is set to top 20. Whyalla will reach 18, Port Augusta set to top 20 degrees and Kadina will get to a high of 19. Port Pirie to reach 20, Clare will be a top of 15 degrees and over the border in Broken Hill it will reach 16 degrees. Turning to the weekend's forecast now, and as mentioned earlier, mainly fine conditions right across the board as we head to the poles. Woodna will be sunny and 21, Port Pirie will get to a top of 22, Broken Hill 14, Port Lincoln 18 degrees. Similar conditions again on Sunday, temperatures heating up a bit. It's set to be a max of 23 in Port Augusta, Woodna and Port Pirie. Port Lincoln and Whyalla 20, Broken Hill will get to just 14. Looking further ahead to next week now, and again no change in conditions. Slightly warmer again though, Port Augusta and Woodna both 24, Kadina and Port Lincoln to reach 21, Cooper Pedy will reach 23 and our friends in Adelaide will get to 22. Let's hope it keeps heating up next week, Maddie, and that's all the weather from me for tonight. I'll see you soon with an update. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday. I'm Madeline Kerr. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.